boy, man, this is exactly what we have been waiting for. And I feel like we've said that a lot over the year. Like, oh, this is exactly the moment that we needed for this guy. But I feel like this right here, this is it. And it's not going to get any better than this, unless SKA St. Petersburg head coach Roman Rottenberg says, okay, let's one-up it one more time. Because KHL hockey has never been so exciting for Canadiens fans. Earlier today, we had seen SKA St. Petersburg play off against Severstal Cherepovets in a 7-4 loss. This is, unfortunately, the fourth loss that SKA St. Petersburg has had in a row. And now, if you head over to the KHL standings, things are not looking all too glorious for this team. In fact, if you scroll down to the Bobrov division, SKA is second behind Spartak Moscow. But if you go over to the entire league, you can see that SKA St. Petersburg's standing is just barely at the edge of the playoff race. They are in the playoffs, yes, but you have some other teams that are right there above them. They are 7th overall in the Western standings. It's not usually what you would expect out of the grand SKA St. Petersburg, funded by the military team. And so, when SKA starts to lose, and when they're put in this spot where they have no choice but to play their best guys, you have Ivan Demidov, who is not only placed on the first line today, but who was given 22 minutes of ice time. The guy ended off this game with 3 points, 5 shots, a goal and 2 assists, and a -1. Demidov, after going 2 games without a point against Dynamo Moscow and Spartak Moscow, games in which you could say his ice time was a little bit more limited, he ends up finally getting that first-line spot, and he puts in the work to establish more of his dominance in the league. He ends up getting himself a goal, which was a really nice goal. I mean, Ivan Demidov walks right in, he comes over to the front of the net with the puck, he dangles by. I mean, the fact that he even had this angle to walk into and then just kind of dipsy-do backhanded by the goalie, what a beautiful play there for Ivan Demidov. The assists that he had were also there. I mean, they weren't really too amazing. One of them is like he just kind of touched it up, and then the other 2 guys came in, they passed it, and then they scored. And then Demidov's final point of the night came in the third period. Another nice play where he takes advantage of the face-off, tosses it towards the goal, and then the guy in front is able to put it into the open cage. But for Ivan Demidov now, this is ultimately what we have been waiting for out of this guy, to really showcase and flex those offensive skills. Now, if we take a look at it, he's the #1 guy on Elite Prospects. Everybody is checking out Demidov and his page, and if you head over to some of these stats that have been breaking down the situation for the Montreal Canadiens and for Demidov, you are seeing things like this pop up on social media. Ivan Demidov now has 35 points in 44 games. He is 8 points away from breaking the KHL record for the most points scored by a U20 player, set by Kirill Kaprizov, who had 42 points in 49 games played. Is he capable of doing that? Is he capable of tying Kaprizov's record? Well, Demidov is on pace for 67 games, and he is on pace for 53 points. Points per game be damned, Ivan Demidov is still in a spot where, just with a little bit more production, he can best out the best the KHL has ever seen in terms of their U20 point producers. If you go over to Elite Prospects and you look at this very same metric, you will see that the #1 18, 19, 20-year-old guy in KHL history was Kirill Kaprizov. Last year you had Matvei Mishkov, who had scored 41 points, so he was 1 point away from being able to match Kirill. And then Ivan Demidov has 35 points in 40 games played. The point per game number is admittedly a little bit lower, but you gotta look at these teams, man. Matvei Mishkov was playing in HK Sochi, Eli Tolvanen was on HC Jokerit, Kuznetsov was on Traktor Chelyabinsk, and Kirill Kaprizov was on Salavat Ulayev Ufa. None of these teams are SKA St. Petersburg. In fact, the next SKA St. Petersburg guy that was primarily SKA that's on this list was Kirill Marchenko, who had 16 points in 31 games played in 32 games. The point I'm making with this is illuminating that SKA guys never go through this kind of treatment. They never are given any opportunities to succeed. If we limit it to just SKA St. Petersburg players who are under 20, Ivan Demidov is already the #1 guy this franchise has ever seen. Marchenko, Kusnedinov, Podkolzin, Galchenyuk, these guys all had fewer points, but they had a lot fewer points compared to Ivan Demidov. It's truly remarkable that this talent is in the KHL and is already doing what he's doing on SKA St. Petersburg. If it was any other team, maybe spare CSKA Moscow, for sure he would have had a lot more of an opportunity, and he probably would have had a lot more points. The fact that he can get this and put himself up in the Hall of Fame of young U20 KHL players whilst playing on one of the most difficult teams for young players to get minutes on is remarkable. He's already around Kuznetsov, he's already around Buchnevich, and he's on pace to tracking to beating out Mishkov and Kaprizov, assuming his point-per-game pace continues the way it does. And heck, if he continues getting 20-plus minutes per night, he might even break that record earlier. Who knows? All it depends on is Roman Rottenberg being able to finally just suck it all up and be like, yeah, this guy is our best player, or he is one of the best players, so we need to give him the minutes. We need to give him top-line matchups, and he's got to get all the power play time. Ivan Demidov is already in that position where he is one of the best we've ever seen in this KHL. And now with all the minutes he's been given, oh yeah, definitely. If you just did the math on points per 60, Ivan Demidov is already up there. And in fact, it was already talked about. Let's go out there and read a thread on the Habs subreddit. Can we compare Ivan Demidov and Kirill Kaprizov's points per 60 minutes numbers? It's not that big of a gap. The other day, someone did the math when Demidov was at 32 points, and the ice time equivalent for Kaprizov would have been 28 points. The biggest difference, though, would be that Kaprizov was in his draft +2 instead of his draft +1. Well, now, with 3 more points, that difference is large. And so, yeah, maybe it's actually a lot higher now, the difference between Demidov and Kaprizov, how Demidov has been able to produce on a point per 60 basis compared to Kaprizov playing for a team that was giving him more opportunities. And now, Kirill Kaprizov, despite the injuries, because, you know, he has been out for a while in the NHL, he is one of the most valuable players in the entire National Hockey League. He's at 50 points in 34 games played. Had he just had a full 82-point pace campaign, he would have been on pace for like 100 whatever points. He was nasty when he was playing, but he's been out for a while. Is he actually back? Oh, he doesn't have the little check mark on his thing there on the Minnesota Wild's page. I'm not really too sure. We can check that out later. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Kirill comparisons and how Ivan Demidov is going out there and besting out the best of the best in KHL lore. There's a lot going on here in the KHL, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.